Welcome to another edition of Beyond the Lines, presented by Wizard Sports Picks for Sunday, November 9th. I'm Ian Cameron. Make sure you check out wizardsportspicks.com. Some of the best handicappers on the planet, a great roster top to bottom. It's been a great run of premium picks for me with premium picks at Wizard Sports Picks as of late. We're on great all sports runs right now. We're on a solid 13-8 NHL streak, 27-20 NFL and college football streak, and we're off to a solid 9-4 start in college basketball this season with premium picks. So make sure you get on board. Check out all the single game premium picks as well as combo packages available from all the great handicappers at wizardsportspicks.com. All right, we're going to look at 3 NFL games for Week 10 on today's edition of Beyond the Lines. We will start with the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. Yes, to make money at sports betting, sometimes you have to embrace the stink, and that is what we are doing here. This is a horrific matchup, but I do think we have an edge for one of these two teams. We have Cleveland 1.5-point road favorites. The total here, 37.5 in this game. And I'm going to make a case for the road favorite here. The Cleveland Browns laying 1.5 in this game. The New York Jets, obviously, both teams are off a bye week, so there's no advantage that way. Both teams with extra time to prepare. But the New York Jets are off their first win of the season, albeit you could easily say the Cincinnati Bengals lost that game every bit as much as the New York Jets won that game. But win it they did, the New York Jets with a 39-38 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, and give their offense credit. An offense that had scored 17 points in 2 games combined against Carolina and Denver before that shocking 39-38 win over the Bengals. And give Justin Fields credit. He threw the ball as well as he's thrown it all year. Breece Hall had 133 rushing yards in that game. It was just as efficient and as productive a day as the Jets' much maligned offense has had all season. I will dare them to show me they can do that again. And one kind of handicapping staple that I subscribe to, I like to fade bad teams off a win, because bad teams aren't supposed to string wins together. Bad teams are not supposed to, be able to replicate good performances in a row. And I don't trust the New York Jets, nor this coaching staff that really hasn't impressed me to be able to do that. When you look at the Cleveland Browns, Dylan Gabriel, a work in progress at the quarterback position, but he's shown some flashes, at times against Pittsburgh, despite the rough day on the road against a solid team. He showed some potential there. Now, the last game against New England, I thought they got off to a very good start in that game. They led 7-3 after the first quarter. Unfortunately, the defense kind of struggled the rest of the way, but that was Drake May and a very, very impressive-looking New England offense that did damage against Cleveland. I think this will be a manageable matchup here against, let's be honest, before they faced one of the worst defenses in the NFL, that being the Bengals. It's not like this Jets offense was scintillating and marching the football up and down the field. So I think the Browns defense will play well. I think the key here is, obviously, we saw the NFL trade deadline this past week, and Sauce Gardner traded out of New York. And more importantly for this particular matchup against the Browns, Quinnen Williams was also dealt. He's one of the better run stuffers on defense that this Jets team has. Not that the Jets defense has been very good. It's been overrated for years. But Quinnen Williams was one of the guys you would rely on to stop the run. And that means Quinshon Judkins really could have himself the opportunity to have a very strong day running the football here in this game, which would be obviously of great importance here if they can get the run game going to give Gabriel some support. I think with Williams gone, and look, a Jets team that even with Williams on the field on this defense prior to the deadline, it's not like they were a great run defense anyway. The numbers are pretty rough for this New York Jets team as far as stopping the run. 135.8 rushing yards per game allowed, 4.5 yards per carry allowed. That's not going to be a good sign for them against Judkins and the Browns team that will look to run the football to support their rookie quarterback. And I do still think Cleveland's got the better defense. Yes, there's some concern. Cleveland's defense on the road has not been as good as it's been at home, but I don't trust the Jets offense to do anything close to what they did against Cincinnati. I think Cleveland can go on the road and win here. I'll take the Cleveland Browns -1.5 against the New York Jets. All right, our second game that we are going to look at for this NFL Week 10 slate on Sunday, November 9th, we're going to look, and I'm going to give you a side and a total for this next game. The New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay 2.5-point home favorites, 48 the total in this game. New England's been a great story, phenomenal, and I've backed the Patriots a handful of times this season. But this is a really good spot, I think, to take Tampa and maybe go against this Patriots team. You look at New England, and last week against Atlanta, it wasn't their best performance. There was kind of a hang-on, at the end, victory for the Patriots. Drake May was still solid, and of course they have Travion Henderson running the football pretty effectively for this team. I've been impressed with the likes of Demario Douglas, Stephon Diggs, of course, at receiver. The defense has certainly held their own, but it was also a defense that allowed Michael Penix Jr. to throw for 221 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. And now you're going to have to deal with a Tampa Bay team that, look, they have been riddled with injuries this year, Tampa Bay, particularly at the receiving core, and particularly on the offensive line. But the good news for Tampa Bay is there's a good chance they're going to be as healthy as they've been with the receiving core and with the offensive line as they have been in quite some time. When you look at the New England Patriots defense, yes, they've been pretty good as against the run. I think the secondary is still where this team can be susceptible, and obviously Baker Mayfield's capable of kind of making them pay for that. I think Tampa Bay will move the football here. The Tampa Bay defense, like I said, had a bounce-back performance after the loss to Detroit, beating the New Orleans Saints 23-3. And let's not forget how pretty good this home field has been for Tampa Bay. Remember, they beat the 49ers here in their last home game. If not for, a lot of mistakes and a special team score, they may have even beaten the Philadelphia Eagles here earlier this season at home. I think it's going to be a bit of a tricky spot for the Patriots here. I know they're rolling 6 in a row and 5-1 against the spread. But coming off the bye, laying less than a field goal, I will back the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, -2.5. And I also like over 48 in this game. I think we're going to see points, noting that Tampa Bay 9-4 to the over in their home games in their last 13 since the beginning of last year. They've gone 9-4 to the over in their home games. I like the ability that both offenses have to move the football and score points in this game. So Patriots Bucks over 48 and Tampa Bay rather, -2.5 along with over 48. My side and total recommendations here for this big matchup between the Patriots and Buccaneers. All right, and we will wrap things up with the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders. Detroit 7.5-point road favorites, 49.5 the total here in this game. One thing that has been not just good, it's been phenomenal from a betting standpoint, is just backing the Detroit Lions off a loss. And obviously we saw Detroit last week losing at home to the Minnesota Vikings. They weren't sharp. They certainly had their share of issues as far as protection for Goff. The offense was just a little bit out of sync that whole game. And to be honest, their defense didn't play that well. They struggled to contain the Minnesota run game. They struggled at times to deal with J.J. McCarthy, who returned for Minnesota at quarterback from his injury. And like I said, for Detroit, it was just not really all that great of a performance. The good news here for Detroit is they're playing a absolutely decimated Washington Commanders team that looked absolutely lifeless. It was like watching a dead corpse on the football field, quite honestly, last week against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. An awful, horrific blowout loss for the Commanders. And not only that, but already a team banged up significantly, but Jaden Daniels goes down to injury, out indefinitely, and they lose a slew of other players on both sides of the football too following that game. Jaden Daniels, Luke McCaffrey, Marshawn Lattimore, Frankie Louvu has been suspended. Terry McLaurin is doubtful to play. Like I said, this is a shorthanded, decimated, reeling football team right now. They're decimated with injuries. They're not playing well at all on the field. They are now 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread their last 4 games. They've lost by double digits now 3 straight weeks in a row against Dallas, Kansas City, and Seattle. I think this team knows their season is over. They're not going anywhere, and they are facing the wrong team at the wrong time here. Detroit off a loss. The numbers for Dan Campbell, since he's been the head coach of the Detroit Lions, off a loss. How about 12-0 straight up, 12-0 against the spread since November of 2022? That's right. The last 12 times the Lions have played following a loss, they are a perfect 12-0 straight up and against the spread. And not only with Detroit off that loss looking to bounce back, and certainly capable of doing that against a decimated Washington team, they also have playoff revenge on their minds. They lost at home to this Washington Commanders team in the NFC divisional playoff last January, and their brilliant season, it was all set up for the Lions. We won the NFC North, number one seed in the NFC, home field advantage throughout the playoffs, right through to the Super Bowl. It was set up for the Lions to maybe get to the Super Bowl, home field advantage throughout, and the Washington Commanders put an end to those dreams back in January, and I don't think the Lions have forgotten about it. If they've got the chance to not only beat Washington here on Sunday, but maybe whip them and annihilate them, I do not believe for a second the Lions will hesitate to take that opportunity. So we will lay the 7.5 that is out there. There are still some 7.5s that are available, 8s at certain books. So make sure you shop around. But we will lay the 7.5 here with the Detroit Lions against this banged up, beleaguered, and reeling Washington Commanders team on Sunday. Detroit minus 7.5 against Washington for my third game that we will analyze here on this edition of Beyond the Lines. That's a wrap for this edition of the show. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for tuning in. Again, get to wizardsportspicks.com and check out all the great handicappers on the website. And a good luck with all of your wagers coming up on Sunday, and not just in NFL Week 10 action, but so many other sports going on as well, NHL, NBA, college basketball. So make sure you check out the website. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy the games and good luck. And this has been your Sunday, November 9th edition of Beyond the Lines, presented by Wizard Sports Picks.